Sister-in-law, Mr. Gu's flight will arrive soon. Gu Yuming assistant around the eye watch, low voice to me to raise a wake up. At the thought of Gu Yuming, I involuntarily bent the corners of my mouth, quickly took out the lipstick from the bag and touched up the makeup. Behind him is a group of senior executives of his company. They gathered together in twos and threes, the same as to meet Gu Yuming. As the crowds began to appear, I looked left and right, looking for Gu Yuming's figure in the crowd. Until our eyes met and I felt like I was stuck in place. Gu Yuming, a stiff suit, style is still, completely see the journey of hard, but is a face of spring breeze. He carefully supported the abdomen of the woman beside him. The eyes were so gentle that they could almost drop water. It was his little sister, and Shin. Angsen, although pregnant in the body, limbs are still slender, delicate makeup, leaning on Gu Yuming. Hwai appears very weak, people pity. Gu Yuming unabashedly hugged her, the intimacy of two people, eyes like glue. I stared at them and forgot to hand out the bouquet in my arms. And behind the senior people see this behind the scenes, but also whisper to each other, looking at my eyes are full of jokes. Gu Yuming with Angsen went straight to the front of the people, look magnanimous to much. Without waiting for me to open my mouth, he had loosened his hand and came to me, and he took off his coat and put it on me. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking it was all just a misunderstanding. Unexpectedly, he frowned, stepped back and stared at me coldly. There is no other clothes at home? It's embarrassing to meet me dressed like this. My heart sank. Today's skirt is clearly his gift to me. Before he would wear a smile to praise my good looks, but now feel that I give him shame. I sighed. People change. Seeing the atmosphere became awkward, a senior hardly came out to smooth things over. Mr. Gu just came back from a business trip, should be very tired. It is better to go home early to rest. Gu Yuming faintly glanced at him, and then hugged Angsen more tightly. There was a slight warmth in his eyes as he looked at the man in his arms. No hurry. We have a party tonight. My heart rekindled hope for Gu Yuming. It's my birthday, and I thought he'd at least remember and celebrate with me. An accompanying executive apparently felt the same way, saying gallantly to Gu, "The heroine can't be absent on such an important day," he said, gesturing in my direction. I was trying to come forward, but was Gu Yuming's sentence fixed? Tonight is Xingxin's celebration dinner. She just helped me get a project. She is of course the protagonist. The executives who have just emerged from the siege are also stunned. But they are human essence, instantly understand Gu Yuming's overtones. The senior people who were around me quickly surrounded Gu Yuming and Enshin around. A person began to compliment Enshin. I was pushed out of the crowd, like a spectator, watching them receive the blessings of the crowd. Gu's secretary gave me a sympathetic look, finally sighed and followed them to the car in silence. Other employees also began to leave. Passing me, I heard their voices. Mrs. Gu's psychological quality is really strong, if I could not hold. Sure, he's got a thick skin. Still looking after my wife, I think she's about to lose her seat. The crowd gradually dispersed, and only I remained in the same place. It's the height of summer, but the airport's cool air doesn't seem to be strong enough, leaving a hint of muggy air in the air. But I felt like I was in an ice cellar, and all my blood was frozen. I held the hem tightly, and as long as I looked down, I could see the skirt on my body. I had loved it before, because Gu Yuming had given it to me, but now I only felt that I was wrapped in shame. More embarrassing than streaking. I played that image over and over in my head, and it was a constant reminder that my husband was cheating on me. The object of the affair was his mentor's daughter, his little sister. Gu Yuming, now the company's expanded business includes the research direction of his mentor, and Xin, after the death of his mentor, her daughter inherited her father's business and became a leader in the industry. He often told me that he was ashamed of his teacher, and his teacher brought him up, but he failed to raise medical expenses in time when his teacher was seriously ill, which led to his teacher's death in time. I have been reassuring him that this is not his fault at all, and I can understand his remorse. So when he frequently mentioned the little sister Angson, I only thought they were each other's only relatives in this world. After all, Gu Yuming also told me that little sister is his own sister. His discipline of Xin has always been very strict. I often advised him, Xin is still young, and a girl, more tolerant. Gu Yuming always smiled helplessly, hugged me and said, "I know, I will be more patient, but the elder brother is like a father. I have to help my teacher manage her more, at least to give the teacher an account, is not it?" Time goes by. He praises Angson more and more times. I also feel a little relief for this, thinking that her workability is growing. Now it seems that the truth behind that is far from simple. Probably by my goodwill, Angson's sleeping clothes Gu Yuming. But I really can't figure out why Xin would be pregnant. Gu never liked children. He thought children were difficult to communicate and noisy, which would distract him. He's a workaholic, and he can't stand anything that interferes with his career. Actually, we had an accidental baby once. Gu Yuming is usually very cautious, every time do enough safety measures, but that time we all drink dizzy, feeling difficult to restrain, then what also do not care. 2 months later, I noticed a subtle change in my body and had a vague guess in my mind, so I hurried to the pharmacy to buy a pregnancy test. That night, I happily handed him the 2-bar pregnancy test, barely able to hide a smile on my face. It's our first child after all. However, Gu Yuming's reaction was unusually cold. He repeatedly looked at the pregnancy test version and looked at it, frowning. Finally, he casually threw the test in the trash. He gently touched my face, but the words were very cold. "Wife, hit the baby." I was so excited about being a mom, he hit me in the head, and after a brief blank, we had the biggest fight of our marriage. And then we didn't talk for a long time. I have repeatedly tried to find a way out for her, but he has not budged, insisting that I give up the child, even at the threat of divorce. Finally, I gave in and went to the cold operating table. I cried silently before the anesthetic took full effect. I feel sorry for the baby that never got born. I love Gu so much that I can give up everything for him. After my miscarriage, Gu Yuming became the gentle and considerate husband again. Occasionally seeing me sad for the child, he would hug me tightly and say in a very sincere tone, "Wife, the company is not stable now. When our economic conditions are better in the future, we will consider having children, so that I can give you and the child a better life." I thought about it for a while, and he made a lot of sense. So, at his request, I also gave up my career and became a full-time wife for him. He works for our future. But when I woke up, the outcome of that child still haunted me like a nightmare and could not go away. The phone screen suddenly lit up. I unlocked to check WeChat. Gu Yuming sent a new circle of friends. "I have finally returned to China. I want to enjoy my life with her." The picture shows a dress with high custom dress. I remember when I got a text message from him that I was happy, thinking it was a birthday present from him. I pretended not to know, waiting for him to surprise me. I didn't think everything was my love. I realized that the dress he had bought didn't belong to me, and neither did his love. It's time for our marriage to come to an end. I made numerous calls to Gu Yuming, but all I got back was a cold, busy signal. His message went nowhere. No one responded. It was not until the evening that Gu Yuming sent me a message with a location. At that time, I was no stranger to a famous private club in Sea City, where he and his friends often went to party. "Come here, I want to talk to you." After a moment's thought, I decided to see what he was going to do. The party was in his usual private room. Open a door, Gu Yuming and an ancient figure will come into view. Two people close posture, she snuggled in his arms, and Gu Yuming mouth hook with a shallow smile. Angst in Gu Yuming ear said what? Gu Yuming immediately reached out from the fruit bowl, took a grape, patiently peeled, fed to her mouth. The two seemed like a perfect couple. Gu Yuming's friends all heckled one after another. "Yo, how did Ming brother become so gentle?" "Oh, little sister-in-law so sign, and pregnant with children, Ming brother love is normal. Mingo is so blessed." I gave a sneer. In the past they came to the house to visit, which is not my saddle before the horse after busy to go. At that time they praised me virtuous, envy Gu Yuming, is also such a sister-in-law called me. And now they're the same people. Angson was, they said, cheeks are red, shy head buried in Gu Yuming arms. The crowd laughed even louder. I took a deep breath and pushed open the box door. The atmosphere froze and the room was filled with embarrassment. Gu Yuming, those friends all smiled, pretending that nothing had happened just now, and whispered to the people next to them. I knew they were probably discussing why Gu had called me here. Gu lifted his chin and motioned for me to sit down. I chose the farthest sofa to sit on. "The room is full of acquaintances," Gu Yuming without any concern to open his mouth and said. "Shen Hui, I invite you to come tonight is to formally divorce you." I cannot help laughing. Clearly before the various performances have given me a preview. Before the business trip, a wife called me, and when I came back, the little three were already pregnant. The acting is amazing. If there is no company, I really want to suggest that he go to the entertainment industry to make a career. Maybe the next actor is him. Reason? I calmly looked him straight in the eye and asked lightly. Gu Yuming picked his eyebrows. His face was very impatient. "I'm tired of you. The days with you are the same. Look at you now, plain face, deformed figure, and no taste in clothes. Do you think you're good enough for me?" Chapter 4. I laughed at his shamelessness. He told me to quit my job and stay at home. He asked me to stay home and be his wife, and now he's doing the opposite. In order to take care of his delicate stomach, I searched for recipes, made him stew and nutritious meals. I was his personal chef before I got married. I did more than that for him, but he turned a blind eye, and in turn found me not beautiful enough. Now that his career is successful, the first one to be replaced is me, who has been suffering with him for so many years. I did not lose control, but remained calm. "You are determined to let the mistress get on top, right?" Hear this, Angson's expression flashed a little uncomfortable. But the next second, she wrapped Gu Yuming's neck again. The corners of her mouth hung a touch of a seemingly without a smile. "The one who is not loved is the outsider. Gu Yuming now love who? You do not count." Gu just hugged him and looked at me coldly. His silence seemed to give Enshin support. She stopped her back, the more harsh words. "You can't help him with his career now. You can only help him with the daily chores, so you might as well hire a nanny." Isn't it proper that you step aside? Everyone around her began to agree with her. Gu Yuming is not enough like, threw a bank card in front of me. The attitude is very arrogant and said, "This is the compensation for you. The house is yours, and I'll meet you at the Civil Affairs Bureau the day after tomorrow." Calm as water, I picked up the card. Then snap a crackle, the bank card was broken by me. Gu Yuming first froze, then angry, snapped. "Shen Hui, you don't give face, shameless." Who is shameless? I casually dropped the broken card on the floor and got up from the sofa. "The house is mine, I don't want your dirty money." The marriage will certainly be separated, but everything will go according to legal procedures. Gu Yuming's friend laughed out loud, teasing. "You a stay-at-home wife? Such a big breath. It's so funny, Mingo wants to get together and leave well. She also shows signs. Be careful to leave the house and be honest." And Shin's eyes turned, delicate frown, to Gu Yuming, arms leaning. "Yuming, she is very fierce, so don't scare us babies." She said it while cutesy stroking her stomach. Gu Yuming also followed with a frown, pacifying pat Angsen's shoulder. "Xingsen, don't be afraid. I have in. She can't hurt you and the baby." I got tired of their lovey-dovey, rolled my eyes, and left the club without looking back. When I got home, I packed up all of Gu's things, threw them outside the door, and then began to clean up my own things. I'm not interested in his stuff, and he's not taking anything from me. In the process of finishing, I suddenly remembered that the lucky cat that my mother had asked for was still in Gu Yuming's office. It is my mother's relics. She dragged her sick body to the temple before she died. Just hope that I can eat and drink in the future, clothes and food worry. After marriage, I gave it to Gu Yuming, thinking that it could be used more there. But now we are going to divorce. I naturally cannot accept the mother's relics to continue to stay in the hands of Gu Yuming. The next day, I went to Gu's company. But the front desk, who always treated me with deference, was particularly cold today. "Miss Shen, do you have an appointment? You can't get in without an appointment." I gave her a glance and saw contempt and mockery in her face. A snob can change his face faster than a book. "I just came to get what belongs to me." The front desk was unimpressed and businesslike. "I'm sorry, but you can't enter without an appointment." The word appointment was deliberately accentuated by her tone. I gradually lost patience. "How can I say it is still half your boss? Where do you have the courage to stop me? What does my affair with Gu Yuming have to do with you, an outsider?" The receptionist did not care, sneering. "Miss Shen, people should know themselves clearly. We are all decent people. Blindly entangled will only hurt both sides, you say?" In her opinion, I was just a Cuscuta flower attached to Gu Yuming and could not live without him. With a sneer, I walked up to the front desk and slapped her on the cheek. The front desk did not expect me to suddenly start. After being hit froze in place, cheeks quickly swollen up. Before she knew it, I got on the elevator and headed to my office on the top floor. There was an air of ambiguity in the room. Angsen and Gu Yuming are on the chair, touching me. The sound of me opening the door startled them, and Angsen suddenly turned back and screamed when she saw me. "Oh, why are you in here?" As she spoke, she covered her body with her clothes and rushed into the break room. Gu Yuming also woke up from the confusion, hurriedly arranged his clothes, a face of displeasure to ask, "Shen Hui, what are you doing again?" I couldn't help but roll my eyes. No wonder Gu Yuming so quickly by angst and down, the original they play so wild. The thought of two people tangled up in white, I just feel sick. As soon as I looked down, I saw the lucky cat sitting on Gu's desk and went straight to it. Gu Yuming frowned and was about to speak when a cry came from outside the door. Mr. Gu, Miss Shen not only disobeyed company regulations, but also beat me. Mr. Shen, I really can't stop you. Look at my face. What if I'm disfigured? The front desk came in tearful and tightly pulled Gu Yuming's sleeve. Gu Yuming's frown tightened. Shen Hui, you said you don't want my money. Now what? I'm not gonna talk to him. I'm gonna pick up the lucky cat and go. Gu Yuming, who has always been high in the world, is praised by people every day. How can his self-esteem be allowed to be so despised by me? Then he suddenly got angry and rushed up to try to hold me back. But I can't do what he wants. During the struggle, the lucky cat fell to the ground and was smashed to pieces. I was stunned. It was my mother's legacy, which she begged for me even when she was sick. It may be just an ordinary decoration to others, but it means a lot to me. Tears trickled down to the ground, and my vision gradually became blurred. I tried to hold back the tears, but when I thought of my mother, I couldn't control my emotions. Gu Yuming leisurely geography good clothes once again restored the usual elegant appearance. Seeing me out of control and crying in front of him, he even smiled with pride. He gently stroked the remains of the lucky cat on the ground with the tip of his shoe and said carelessly, "Oh, I accidentally broke it. It's just a worthless thing and nobody wants it on the street." I choked and glared up at him. My anger and terror seemed to fuel his arrogance even more. But the situation in the office has attracted the attention of employees. Many people gathered at the door to peek. Gu Yuming glanced at the people outside the house, in order to maintain the image, did not say anything more. I controlled my anger, picked up the lucky cat pieces, carefully wrapped them in tissue and left. Standing outside the company gate, I managed to calm my mood. Found a number in the address book and dialed it. "Hey, are you free now? Can I see you?" I got home already late at night. The living room was brightly lit, and Gu Yuming was leaning lazily on the sofa, his shirt unbuttoned casually, but his face was a haze. At his feet lay the luggage that belonged to him, packed up and thrown out by me. I regretted not changing the lock in time. I can't get the pieces of the lucky cat and his cynicism out of my head. I have no heart to deal with him again. Cold voice dropped a word. "Roll." Gu Yuming seemed not to hear, wiped me at a glance, asked, "What do you smoke, wind? Why throw all my stuff out?" I'm not interested in arguing with him. Forget it. He saw that I did not say anything, but more and more, a pair of lost face during the day to win back the posture. Just broke up with me so laid back, early to find the next home. I'll tell you why you agreed to a divorce so abruptly. Can the little boy outside feed you? Don't cry and beg me to take you in. In his eyes, my silence seemed like weakness. He carelessly put his feet on the coffee table, arrogantly instructed me to cook. I have been hungry for so long. I didn't want to talk to him. I went straight to my room and locked the door. He knocked on the door desperately. "Shen Hui, get out of here. Don't play dumb in there." I sat wearily on the edge of the bed and shouted to him, "Find your Shin. I'm warning you, I own this house. Disappear or I'll call the police." Gu Yuming kicked the door hard, cursed outside for a while, and finally slammed the door out, leaving a harsh sentence. Shen Hui, you regret. The next morning, we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau and filed for divorce. Holding the divorce certificate, I stood at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, bathed in the warm sunshine, and I breathed a sigh of relief. 8 years of marriage ended in this way, not the expected grief, but a sense of relief. Gu Yuming fulfilled his wish, but looked not very happy. He clutched the divorce papers and gave me a dirty look. After sharing the bed for so many years, I realized that I didn't know Gu Yuming at all. Is he upset because I didn't cry like a disgruntled woman, begging him not to leave me? Never mind. It doesn't matter. I'm divorced. I've been strangers ever since. Was about to leave, Gu Yuming but shouted to stop me. He was silent for a long time, his teeth rattling, and he squeezed out a sentence. Why? Where's your little boy? And let you go home alone? Gu Yuming's driver parked the car on the side of the road. The window of the back seat rolled down, revealing Angsen's delicate little face. I stuffed the divorce certificate into my bag, and the corners of my mouth began to smile. Nature is not as affectionate as you and Enshin. I wish you many happy years ahead. In a way, I really should thank Enshin. If it were not for her entanglement with Gu Yuming might not have exposed his true colors so quickly. And I might as well be endlessly playing the role of free babysitter. I laughed involuntarily at the thought. Angsen faced proud, coaxing to shout Gu Yuming. Husband, come on. Gu Yuming saw my smile. The expression became complicated. I didn't bother to pay any more attention to them, watching a commercial car slowly pull up in front of me. The door opened and I sat straight in. Gu Yuming roared behind him. Shen Hui, you bitch. You really have found a new home. Shen Hui, get out of the car. Give me an answer. Shen Hui, you are really shameless. Laozi raised you for so long and dared to secretly find a spare tire. I'm too lazy to argue with him. So what if it is? So what if it isn't? Gu Yuming betrayed me, betrayed our marriage and emotions. Why should I fall into the self-proof trap because of his 3 or 2 words? There's a long way to go. I have so much to do. I shut the door and shut out Gu's abuse. The man on the co-pilot rolled his eyes at Gu Yuming's behavior. Then she looked at me with a genuine smile on her face and held out her hand. Hui, welcome back to our company. I also smiled at her and held her hand. Thanks to the recognition of the leaders, thank you, give me the opportunity. After a few pleasantries, I saw Gu Yuming's figure getting smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. Maybe he's been a housewife for so long, he's forgotten what I was. I'm not a meek woman. Cheating men I do not rare, but this does not mean that I can calmly look at Gu Yuming still triumphant. He betrayed me, humiliated me, and destroyed what my mother had left me. The seed of revenge was planted in my heart, and after all this, it has already begun to take root. He must pay for what he has done. I want to see his name destroyed. It was the only way to make up for 8 years of lost youth. The person who came to greet me was not Gu Yuming's imaginary new love, but a former colleague of Lihua Technology. When my career was at its peak, I chose to give up my career and run to love. At that time, I was too naive to believe that I could grow old together with Gu Yu. For him, I gave up the opportunity for promotion. When the leader valued me most, I resigned and went home to be a housewife and washed my hands for him every day. In the past 8 years, the original company has grown in size and even become an important partner of Gu Yuming Company. And Fang Tong, a former colleague, also rose and became the core figure of Lihua Technology. Even after I resigned, I still kept in touch with Fang Tong. She always wants to ask me out to get together, but I always have to do a lot of housework. Coupled with her busy business later, we hardly have time to meet. Although we didn't have time to see each other, she kept sending me messages encouraging me to get back into the workforce. But at that time, I was blinded by lard, immersed in the cake Gu Yuming drew for me, and willingly did his accessories. If I had not resigned, my achievements would not be inferior to Gu Yuming. Perhaps even can be like Fang Tong in Lihua Technology to create their own world. The night before, I called Fang Tong's number. I asked her to meet and tell her everything that had happened over the years. She listened and was silent for a long time. Eventually, she pulled out the tissue and wiped the tears off my face. We are no longer young, but she still smiles softly and sincerely. She hugged me and said, "Hui, welcome back to Lihua." Knowing that I was going to the Civil Affairs Bureau for divorce, Fang Tong insisted on picking me up in person. "You know the Gu family best, and I believe that with your ability, you can handle the cooperation business with their company." Fang Tong smiled and tapped me on the shoulder. I looked at her gratefully. She asked me, who had been away from the workplace for a long time, to take on this responsibility as soon as I returned, both to trust me and to let me breathe. Lihua as Gu's party, I give Gu Yuming at a little block, also not too much. After all, how many companies to squeeze the head also cannot grab the opportunity to cooperate with Lihua Technology? I have no reason not to say yes. I nodded and said, "Thank you, Mr. Fang." It is also a coincidence that on tonight, Lihua and Gu just have business negotiations. Before entering the private room, Fang Tong firmly held my hand. I raised my eyes and looked at her. Fang Tong smiled gently, tone soft and firm. "Let go. The company is your backing." I saw in her face an unconditional pedestrian and support that I had never felt in Gu. I took a deep breath and pushed open the room door. Gu Yuming afraid his dream didn't think Lihua sent negotiators, it was me. He thought I was just looking for him, and he was surprised and somewhat pleased. "How did you find this place?" Then, as if thinking of something, he laughed mockingly. "No way? Shen Hui, have you been following me? If you want to find me to remarry, you will not use such a despicable means." I almost laughed out loud, wondering where he got his confidence. Gu Yuming's secretary coldly stopped me between him and me and said coldly, "Miss Shen, I have reminded you that adults should know their own boundaries. Do you have to let Gu and you tear up the skin?" Angson began to put on a weak side, snuggling up to Gu Yuming's side, holding his arm, but with hostile eyes at me. I'm dying of laughter inside. "Go ahead. Tell me more. I'll see if you can laugh when you know who I am." With a straight face, I pulled away my chair and sat down in a businesslike manner and said, "Secretary Lee, Mr. Gu, I don't understand what you're talking about. This is Lihua and Gu's business meeting. If there is a private matter, please make another appointment." Gu Yuming stunned for a few seconds, then laughed. "You actually know that our company and Lihua have cooperation. Say, Shen Hui, how long have you followed me?" I leaned back in the chair, with the hand of the main chin. "Gu General, now is the office hours. Call the name of the partner. This is Gu's way of hospitality?" Then I think maybe we should reconsider this partnership. Gu Yuming happy, face disdain. Come on, Shen Hui, don't pretend. You want to represent Lihua technology? I'm afraid of being laughed at. 8 years of full-time wife, Gu Yuming firmly with my 8 years of blank workplace experience, even decent work cannot find, let alone or Lihua Technologies such a big factory. But I'll tell him what you never know. I calmly pulled the agreement out of my bag and tossed it gently in front of him. At first he thought I was bluffing and flicking through the pages. Until you see the agreement and the official seal on the last page, Gu Yuming's smile froze on his face. He looked back and forth incredulously at me and the papers in his hand, his face white, and he sank feebly back into his chair. Secretary Li's face turned ugly. They worked hard to get this opportunity to work with Lihua, and in the last few minutes, they have completely offended my representative. The secretary's fingers were trembling and he wiped the cold sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Gu Yuming came back to his mind, stood up and respectfully extended his right hand to me. Mr. Shen, I'm sorry, it was a misunderstanding. I sat in my chair and did not move, but looked at him coldly. Mr. Gu, you and your secretary don't even understand basic respect, which makes Lihua feel that cooperation is extremely risky. I think it is better to discuss cooperation another day. I got up and straightened my collar, making a show of leaving. Gu Yuming's expression twisted for a second, then returned to a normal expression and humbly apologized to me. Sorry, Mr. Shen, it's all my fault. I should not confuse public and private, and please think twice about cooperation. Gu is absolutely sincere. Feng Shui turns. This time Gu Yuming lost very ugly. I gave him a faint glance, deliberately silent, and made an air of insisting on canceling cooperation. Gu Yuming's expression became more and more tense. He gritted his teeth and rubbed his hands together and swallowed anxiously. Then Mr. Shen, what should I do so that you can continue to cooperate with me? I sat down lazily again. Gu Yuming seemed relieved, smiled, and sat down next to me. This time he spoke more carefully. Mr. Shen, about cooperation, I interrupted him directly and said unpolitely. In this case, Gu's 10 more points, I will consider the possibility of continuing cooperation. In fact, the conditions written on the contract are already enough for Lihua, and I put forward more stringent requirements, but deliberately want to embarrass Gu. Not surprisingly, he took the bait. As soon as I spoke, Gu Yuming's brows were locked together. He rubbed his hands uneasily and said in a tone of almost pleading, Shen, we have made a lot of concessions. If it is really another 10 points, I'm afraid Gu's really going to lose in the end. This is the first time I have seen Gu Yuming showing such a humble appearance. I think it is quite new. I supported my chin, looked at him with interest, and casually said, Okay, then you kneel down and beg me. Gu looked at me incredulously, as if wondering if there was something wrong with his ears. And Shin was anxious, hugged him by the arm, and shouted delicately, Gu, look at her. It is clear that she is deliberately insulting you. I freely admitted, Yes, I am deliberately trying to humiliate Gu Yuming, so what? Right now, he's the meat and I'm the butcher, and he's at my mercy. The weak have no choice. I used to be blinded by love, but now I'm sober. Gu Yuming has always regarded himself very high. At this time I am afraid that I cannot hate 1,000 cuts. However, he was helpless. Because the initiative is in my hands, cooperation or not, by my word to decide. He clenched his teeth, pushed Shen away and fell to his knees with a plop. Mr. Shen, please forgive me for my recklessness. I sat down in my chair and surveyed his humiliation with a sense of satisfaction. No wonder he likes to humiliate me. The sense of superiority is fascinating. I ignored him and looked aside at Secretary Li. Secretary Li, and you. Since even the boss Gu Yuming are kneeling, Secretary Li naturally did not stand the reason. A moment later, looking at the two men kneeling in front of me, I could not help but let out a sneer. My laughter made Gu more angry, and his clenched fist shook slightly. In the end, there is still Shin. I put away my smile and calmly took a bowl of chili from the dishes on the table. Miss Anne is pregnant and can't do this gift. I see you haven't eaten today. You must be hungry now. Come on, eat this bowl of chili. Shin widened her eyes and covered her abdomen in horror. Are you crazy? I'm pregnant and allergic to chili. Of course I know. This is all thanks to Gu Yuming. How could I know this if he hadn't whispered it in my ear every day? I sighed regretfully. In that case, there is no way. This cooperation can only be cancelled. My words had just fallen. Gu Yuming was very anxious, backhanded Shen a slap in the face. Shen always let you do what you do. Have you forgotten that you promised your father that you would help me make the company bigger and stronger? This slapped hard, and Shen's white cheek immediately appeared a clear slap print. Angsun probably never suffered such humiliation. Covering her face, tears quickly filled her eyes, but she still stubbornly stared at Gu Yuming. But this time, Gu did not relent. In his eyes, the most important thing is profit. In the face of huge interests, he has forgotten the teacher and the sweetness of the past. He grabbed Shin's hair, pulled her to the table, picked up the bowl of chili and put it in her mouth. Eat. You feed me. I took care of you for the teacher for so long, and you won't even help me this time? Shin was in tears, still struggling, and her makeup was stained with chili oil. When I saw the scene, I felt suddenly dull. The man I've loved for 8 years is nothing but a profit-driven jerk. Never mind. I waved and got up to leave. Gu Yuming immediately let go of Angsun and ran to me to smile. Angsun cried out of the private room. He seemed not to care. In fact, Fang Tong told me early, both public and private, to cancel this cooperation. She then to Gu's back tone found that their research project is suspected of fraud. I was about to speak when there was a sharp crash downstairs. Secretary Li hurried to the window, glanced downstairs, then turned anxiously and said, Mr. Gu, Miss Anne has been hit. Mr. Gu's face suddenly turned white. So is the partnership, and so is his baby. On behalf of Lihua Technology, I took Gu Group to court as a pharmaceutical research company actually used fake data in the drug experiment and finally let the drug circulate in the market. All the problems overnight on the hot search, Gu's group stood on the cusp of the moment. Angsun was aborted because of the accident, and she was abandoned when Gu Yuming was in trouble. For the next few days, I devoted myself to my work. After all, after a long absence from work, it is not easy to readjust. Fang Tong helped me a lot in this process, but also let me learn a lot. Heard the news of Gu Zong again, is in the morning meeting of Lihua Technology. Before entering the meeting room, she suddenly told me that Lihua and Gu's cooperation had the possibility of restarting. Puzzled, I asked, what happened? Fang Tong handed me the document in his arms. Gu was killed by Shin, and now Gu has been acquired by other groups. Hearing the words, my heart was shocked, and I even wondered if I had heard wrong. But I calmed down immediately. I took the document and nodded gently to Fang Tong. Understood, General Fang. In Gu Yuming's description, Angsen was just spoiled by his teacher, a little domineering. I did not expect Angsen will be so determined. After the meeting, back to the office, I searched the news, found that Shin has surrendered. I stared at the web page for a moment, sighed with mixed feelings, and went back to work. However, a few days later, I received a call from the police, saying that Shin asked to meet with me. Perhaps damaged after the miscarriage, she looked unusually pale and thin, a far cry from her usual radiance. We looked at each other through the glass for a moment before I asked, "What did you want to see me about?" Angsen's eyes stay on me, a bitter smile. "You know it." I nodded gently. As if unaware, she went on self-consciously. Gu Yuming can't talk about true love for me. He always felt that I was haunting him, and he couldn't refuse me because of my father. Like you, I naively thought he was divorcing you because he loved me, but he was extremely selfish and only cared about profit. He thinks you're an obstacle to his career, and he's using me to push you out. After your divorce, he tricked me into marrying me and made me hand over the last patent my father left me so he could cooperate with Lihua. I didn't expect that's how he burns bridges. Did you discover his burning bridge after you handed over the patent? I asked quietly. Angsen sobs. Listen to me say Lang a moment. Tears flow more turbulent. Yes, I should have thought of my end when he abandoned you. I sighed. In a sense, we are all forced into this by Gu Yuming. He would take advantage of anyone who was valuable to him. If it's worthless, just kick it out. He did this to me, to Angsen. Now, my memory of his guilt to his teacher to put a question mark. Those words are afraid to let me soften the toll. By the time I got out of the prison, it was evening. I look at the bright stars, think now is very good. I enjoy the freedom, but also enjoy the current better and better myself.